In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at Victor Wembanyama and what is happening when it comes to him getting dunked on. In theory, he should not be getting dunked on at all. So let's get down and let's check out what he is doing wrong that you're probably doing wrong also, so that you don't have to get dunked on like Victor Wembanyama. Let's get down and let's check it out. But really quickly, if you want to be able to jump higher so that you can posterize people like Victor, make sure to go check out my jump training book that is down in the description below. Okay, so there is one big massive mistake that he is doing, and it's getting him in trouble when it comes to getting dunked on. Let's face it, when you're 7'6", you should not be getting dunked on, but let's look at where he is actually trying to take off from, and that actually gives us a massive reason as to why he is getting dunked on. If you are help side, you need to meet the player. If they are driving baseline, you need to meet the player just outside of the key. The reason why that's important is because if a player is driving baseline, you meet him outside of the key, this just makes life difficult. He's either going to get trapped, or if he tries to go over top of you as Ja Morant is right now, he is not going to be able to reach that distance to be able to dunk on you. And if you're going straight up, as Victor Wembanyama is pretty much going straight up, that is actually pretty solid defense if he gets that spacing. Now, Ja was not coming from the baseline. He was coming from the 45. This closeout needs to be, or this help side defense needs to be about a foot outside of the restricted zone. Now, this was not in regulation play. They called the whistle back here, but Ja Morant continued through and punched it on Victor. Victor was late. Now, I understand him being late because of NBA rules, no 3 seconds in the key defensively, but if you don't have that, let's say you're going by NFHS or FIBA rules, you can sit your butt right here on help side and take one step out, and as long as you are outside of that restricted zone, you should be far enough away so that you do not get punched on as Victor does right here. I'm also going to give you another tip on how you can punch on people as Ja Morant does right here. This is actually a skill that I taught my nephew David, as well as many other players who can dunk the ball, how you can dunk on players. Right here, you are allowed to protect yourself. This is not an offensive foul. If his arm was straight and he pushed this defensive player back, yes, it could be considered an offensive foul. However, you can also use this to your advantage to push yourself up even higher. Ja Morant got at least 3 to 5 inches higher because he used Victor's momentum and size to push him up just a bit further. If you can do this skill and practice it, which you can with a pad, you are going to become super successful at punching it on players. Now, here we have a drive and a quick dump down to Zach. Zach Edey was not necessarily ready for that pass, but he was still able to dunk it on Victor. What is the main reason why this was able to happen? Well, for one, let's run the playback just a little bit. For one, I understand why Victor didn't leave Zach Edey. Zach Edey is a big player, a very big player, and if he was to leave him, the guy who's guarding the backside is not going to have the strength to be able to get in front and cover. This is one of the reasons, in my opinion, why San Antonio is so deadly, because they have a player like Victor, but also why the Grizzlies are so deadly, because they have Zach Edey. I think these two players could potentially make a case as to each other being some of the best centers in the NBA history 10, 15, 20 years from now. But with Zach Edey getting prime position, this guy is not even in drop to be able to cover at least some of the pass, and Zach Edey is able to get it in the restricted zone. And because that happened, and because Victor is also in the restricted zone, and he is not actively trying to get Zach Edey out of the restricted zone by using his body to push him, Zach Edey punches it on Victor. Victor. Now, another clip of Victor getting dunked on is this one right here, and while he did take off from outside of the restricted zone, he was still inside of it while it happened. Now, this is not necessarily the greatest team defense of all time. I'll tell you right now, it's terrible. This guy needs to get in front of that drive. He needs to drop just a little bit. He needs to drop just a little bit, and then that would allow these two defensive players to guard these three offensive players. However, NBA doesn't understand what team defense is anymore, and it allows prime dunking position by the Golden State Warriors. And why this was all allowed is because Wembanyama was running alongside, making no contact. If he was just to make a little bit of contact and force that last step to be just a bit further out to the left, this is a layup, which is a lot harder to make than a punch on top of your head. That's just my own opinion, but also the exact reason why he keeps on getting punched on. He's allowing players to get inside of that restricted zone. If you want to be able to jump higher, make sure to go check out my vertical jump training book. And of course, I hope that these tips help you become a better basketball player and get dunked on and punched on less. I'll see you guys again in my next video.